Savior versus support. This is an important concept for people to understand, especially with the conditioning that we receive. And it's not just here in the Western cultures, it's spread actually into Eastern cultures, have this phenomenon of wanting to be saved. We're always looking for the Savior. And there's a few reasons why pinning all of your hopes on a Savior is not really a good idea. Probably the biggest one is it gives you tunnel vision, because now you're looking for the one. I need the one. And then you block everything else out. You're just like, no, I just need this one Savior, this one person, this one being, this one concept, this one situation that's going to save me. And then that causes you not to see anything else. Another reason is you lose all of your power. That's the second reason, is you basically give up all of your power. You say, you're going to save me. I'm helpless. I can't do anything. So just, you do it. I have no power. I can't do anything. I'm just, going to lay here on my back and wave my hands and feet around and wait. Like a turtle on his back, that may save me. So, number 2, you give up all your personal power. And, my brain is not working right now. Oh, it's number 3. It was a good one.
Quick, save you.
Hello, save me. Yep, we get tunnel vision. We give up our personal power. And control. Yeah, control. We have no control over the situation, or in a broader societal sense, all control is regulated to a central authority. If we kind of move past just our individual save me on this little upside down turtle to looking at a broader society, then the problem with this idea of having a savior is now we are pinning everything on a centralized authority, and then we lose all control, we lose all autonomy. But it's so seductive, this idea of having a savior, of somebody to come save us, just take care of us, do everything for us. But if we do that, if we, kind of go into that tunnel vision of just looking for the savior, we're doing ourselves this massive disservice. If instead we look for support, we will always find it. It's always here. Even if you forget and you get that tunnel vision and you're just looking for the somebody save me, save me. If you just stop for a minute and really think about it, you'll realize that, oh wow, I'm actually being fully supported right now. I'm in the middle of space on this planet that has this protective atmosphere and this gravity is literally supporting my body. This planet has all the nutrients that are required for this body. If we think about it, that's pretty mind-blowing. It's just we're fully and entirely supported right now. Even if there's things that we feel like we need or want, we can still return to that sense of being supported, because we are constantly. So if we can shift and start looking instead for support, that tunnel vision opens up, and suddenly we recognize that, oh wait, my body, despite all of my fighting, is still being supported. It's a miracle. Oh my goodness. I inhale and there's air that actually fills my lungs and nourishes all the cells in my body. And then there's this miracle that happens that I exhale and it expels all of the carbon dioxide and all the gaseous things that I no longer need. And this process happens automatically. We can try to control it. We can like play with our breath and watch how it changes our system. But I guarantee you, if you sit there and try and hold your breath, eventually you won't be able to, and you'll just gasp and you'll start to breathe again. Even if you're underwater, that will happen, then you'll drown. So don't do it underwater. But this magical, miraculous process of breathing is continuously supporting the body. So when we start to really look for support instead of a single savior, then, like I said, this tunnel vision goes away. We start to recognize that, oh wait, I am being supported. And then you can start to recognize, well, where else do I need support? How am I being supported? And as you do this, you'll start to recognize that perhaps the places where you feel like you're not being supported, there actually is a support there. It just might be a little janky. Maybe because you didn't put any attention on it. And so you just, in your haste, grabbed whatever spare piece of wood was around and you made a little scaffolding that's holding up your life. And it's a little shaky. But yet there's support there. So then it's like, oh, I built this. I built this life that I'm living. I actually used my power and I did it. So that brings us to the second thing. And that is, instead of being the turtle on your back, your little feet in the air, you take some personal responsibility. You take your personal power back and you realize that, oh, this is the life that I have built using what was available to me at the time. But oh, wait a minute, I've grown. I've changed. So this structure that I built before, because that's the best I could do, maybe I can do a little bit better right now. Maybe I have some other tools that I didn't have before. Maybe I have some other materials that I didn't have before. And you can start to look at the flimsy supports that you have in place and examine them and see, well, how can I either replace this entirely, or can I shore it up until I can get to a point where I can replace it? Or maybe I built this structure to protect me from something, and that threat is gone. So instead of being caged in by this old structure, maybe I just let that go and knock it down. And of course I'm speaking both metaphorically and physically. So look at how you have constructed your life on a very basic physical level, and how you've constructed your inner life on a more metaphysical level. And notice the beliefs and the thought patterns and mental states that you've been holding both yourself in and others in. And notice, is this supporting me in the way that I need to be supported? So that brings us to our third one, is centralization versus decentralization. If we're looking for a savior, we're looking for that one. Like the Matrix had Neo, he was the one. And this whole society is all built around the one. But if we really kind of deconstruct what actually happened, it wasn't just him. There was this whole network of support that took place. So when one component fails, there's these other components in place that provide that support. So pay attention in your life if you are leaning heavily on just a single point. Because if you are, then you've centralized everything to a point of failure. So if that goes down, then everything goes kerplooey, and then you have these broken structures all around. But instead, if you organize your life in such a way that you gain support from multiple points, it enriches you in such a way that instead of you being beholden to this one point where everything has to focus right around that, and you have to basically strip away anything that doesn't support this one pillar, instead you look around and you say, oh wait, if this one's a little weak today, then I can lean this way. And if this one's a little weak, then I can lean that way. And it can build up this entire network where if one point fails, it's not as disruptive. You have this this whole bed to lay on, instead of trying to sleep on a little tiny square. You have this whole platform. But yet this idea of a savior is so pervasive. We even have it in our politics, where we know it's not true here in the US that the president is not all powerful. He's not a king. But we still see it that way. We're like, oh, if they become president, then everything will be wonderful. And there's a certain energetic aspect that happens, but our government is really made up of many, many small parts, just like our life is. when we're looking for a savior, then we become helpless. And that idea of being helpless is continually reinforced. Like, I can't do anything unless the savior does it for me. If we instead take the attitude of, oh, I need support, then we find ourselves in a collaborative effort where we naturally provide the support for others that we can as they provide support for us. It becomes a back and forth, more balanced relationship where we play different roles at different times. So it's very, very important to examine the places in your mind and in your life where you're still reaching for a savior. You know, we see it in our religious books a lot. It's funny because even I see it even in Buddhism. There's a whole school of Buddhism where they pray to Amitabha to be reborn in the Pure Land, because Amitabha is going to save you. And even if you look a little bit deeper in it, it's like, no, he's not going to save you. He'll give you a nice place to live. But that's it. It's not going to save you. And every teacher will tell you, every genuine teacher will tell you that we can open the door, we can provide support, but we can't do it for you. You know, see, even as a teacher, there's the savior complex that happens because this myth is so ingrained in us that there's teachers out there that reach a certain point and they become very powerful, and then they want to save everyone. You know, there's people that enter into the teaching path with this false notion that they're going to go out and save somebody. Now, I see it in a lot of different professions. We see it in the therapy world too. Like, we're going to save you. And see it in doctors. You know, I saw one of my doctors this week, and he is very frustrated because he wants to save me. And it's like, well, no, dude, I just want more functionality. I don't need you to save me. Let's experiment, see what works. He came around. But we see it, like I said, in all these different professions. We see it. It's especially toxic, I think, in the spiritual world because it's so intangible. And there's these whole communities can be built around this idea that this teacher is somehow going to save you. And I know they tried to do it to Buddha Shakyamuni, and he was just like, nope, not happening. Not going to save you, but I'll tell you what worked for me. This is what worked for me. And even Christ, you know, tried. He's like, said, I am the way, I am the light. But he never said, I'm going to do it for you. If you read what he actually said, at least the transcriptions of what he said. I don't read original Aramaic or whatever it was written in. But all of these great teachers, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, they all talk about how we are a doorway. But how far you walk through that doorway is entirely up to you. You know, there's no way I could drag any one of you into meditation, into light, into yourself. You know, I can, you know, get big mirrors and shove them in your face sometimes. And sometimes I do that and people get really upset. But I try to be gentle, but sometimes they don't like it. But I only do that if I really love somebody. because I want them to be free. But I can't make them look. I can't make you look at yourself. All I can do, as I said, is hold this doorway open so that you can see that you are pure and perfect. That you don't need to be saved because you already are beautiful. Yet here in this physical world, there is a need of support. So don't get the idea that, oh, well, I'm already pure and perfect, so therefore I can just, wall myself off and be completely isolated. And if I'm not completely perfectly happy and productive, then there's something wrong with me. It's like, no, you don't exist in a vacuum. In this 3D world, this physical manifestation, it's an interconnected lattice, this web of light that has taken form. And it's constantly shifting, it's constantly moving. And that's the cool, fun part, is when you start to recognize that, oh, there's these undulations that happen, these shifts and movements. And as my consciousness shifts, my orientation on this web of light moves. And I have different experiences based on that. So I'm not fixed in any one place. Now there's two different archetypes that we can call on through the inner worlds, and they have different faces, if you will. But if you become familiar with these two, then they'll help you find the support that you need in any situation. And that, of course, is the divine feminine, divine masculine. The divine feminine is the void, the empty, open field of possibility, complete formlessness. It's that part of you that knows that you are everything and nothing all at once. That's just cannot be put into a box at all. Just completely formless. And then there's the divine masculine, which is movement. It's enlightened activity. It's compassion. It's this constantly shifting sense. And then together, they create form. And so when you start to see that, you can call upon whichever support you might need in a particular moment. So if you're feeling trapped and closed in and you don't know which way to turn, you scream, hey mom, divine mother. And then she'll just show you that you are everything and nothing at the same time. If you're just spinning and spinning and spinning, and you don't know which way to turn, and you just feel like you're completely out of control, then you call on the divine masculine. You say, hey, some compassion here. Show me the enlightened activity. Move through me. Allow compassion to move me. And then you let go to that movement. And you find what you're drawn to, and you follow through with action. And when you do that, you find this wonderful divine connection to the eternal flow of existence. And many times it's interesting because the mind likes to play these weird little games where you might be feeling caught in desire and need, and I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. And then you're presented with opportunities to give. And if you're trapped in your ego, then you kind of close down and you're just like, no, I can't do that because I need more. But if you allow yourself to connect with that and you say, oh, wait, actually, I do have that, I can give that. That is what needs to be given. And you do, then more comes in. It's this really weird thing that happens, but it's part of the flow of existence. So all of life is a movement and a flow within the void. So there, basically, I just defined existence for you. So now you know how to do it. But catch yourself when you're spinning out and you're trying to find a savior, when you're like just screaming for help. Redefine that and say, I need support. And notice how that shifts your mind, and it puts you in a place where you actually start to see what's available to you instead of just sitting alone in your room screaming. I think it was Rama that told the story about, he gave it as an example of a guy that was starving, and he just sat in his room in a chair saying, I'm hungry, I'm so hungry, I'm just hungry, I'm starving, please feed me. But he was out of earshot of anyone, and he still had full functionality of his body, but he was just sitting in his room praying for the Savior to come. And he just sat there in his chair, and he starved to death because he never got up and left the room, because that was the movement that was required. All he had to do was get up and walk out the door, and there was food. So really pay attention to when we get caught in that mode of just praying for somebody to save you, because I'm sorry, they're not coming. But yet there is endless support surrounding you and waiting for you, just waiting. It's like the concert, and the star is up on the stage, and he dives into the audience and they all hold him up. So there's you are the star on the stage, and the audience is just waiting for you to dive, and they will support you. And sometimes your supports aren't that strong and you fall a little bit, but don't worry, because that's just an opportunity to build a stronger support. There'll be other support around you. So in short, stop looking for a savior and start looking for support. And as you're looking for support, also offer support. If you see an opportunity where you can provide some support to somebody, do it. This is why when we create what we need, and then we create a little extra. because when we have that little extra, then we can give it to somebody who needs some extra support. So this idea of giving support doesn't mean that you completely deplete yourself to the point where you can't get up anymore. It's looking at, what do I have that's extra that I can give? And then, oh, what is it that I need that I can take? So there's this even give and take that happens. So does that make sense to you guys? Do you have any questions? Okay, let's meditate, because that is our most wonderful energetic support, is the silence of meditation, where we sit and focus. So we'll sit for 3 songs. We'll focus in on the different chakras. We'll start on the navel center for 1 song, then on the heart chakra for the 2nd, and then finally the 3rd eye. And each of these points of our being feels a little different. So as you focus, really try to feel into those differences. Notice. Don't try to make anything happen. This is just about being aware and opening to the different parts of our being. So as you sit and rest your attention, just be aware if there's any difference. Maybe to you it'll all feel the same. Who knows? But to me, they feel different. So let's try that out. final suggestions when examining your own savior versus support mindset is never feel shame for asking for support. That shame comes out of the savior complex. Because if you feel ashamed for needing support, it means that you think that you're not worthy because you weren't saved. So that weird little trap you get yourself in. It's a weird little circle. Because you say, well, the Savior didn't save me, so therefore I don't deserve to be saved. So just step out of the whole Savior thing and don't be ashamed to ask for support. And that moves you into that more relational place of give and take support. And if there's shame there, if you're ashamed of past behavior, then use that energy of shame to change your behavior and become somebody who wouldn't do that, who wouldn't cause that kind of harm. That's the place where shame is useful and belongs, is that if you have caused harm to yourself or others, then face that and look at it and say, okay, well, how can I use this very intense, gnarly energy to change into somebody who wouldn't do that and therefore wouldn't need to carry around this shame? So that's a big one for a lot of people. So really look at that, examine that. And the other thing to be mindful of is never compare what you need for support with what somebody else needs for support. It's a very poor use of discrimination, is when we start to compare ourselves to others, start to compare our situation to somebody else. Is we can often short circuit the connection to support that we have by doing that, because we see our situation and then we start comparing it to somebody who maybe is in a far rougher place. And then we say, oh, well, I know I need this for my life right now, but oh, look at what they need. Maybe I don't deserve this support because they don't have that support. And we kind of short circuit our ability to accept support. The converse also can happen, is when we see somebody who's doing what we would consider very well and materially, and we feel envy. And we're like, well, they shouldn't have all of that support. Why do they have all of that when I don't have even this? And again, it cuts us off, and it creates this weird blockage. So be aware of that. Instead, use your discrimination, as I said, to look at the support that you do have. And if it's janky, if it's unstable, recognize that and say, well, how can I fix this support? How can I get support for my support? How can I build on what I have? And that keeps us in this space of give and take. And say, oh, well, I don't need this support anymore, but that person does. So here, let me give that to you. And then that will make room for me to get the support that I need. So there's interesting play that happens. So I hope this has been helpful, and that you really take some time and really look at this concept of savior versus support, because it runs deep in a lot of people. So when you're, like I said, when you're just feeling stuck and feeling unsupported, stop yourself and ask, well, I feel unsupported, so am I looking to be saved, or can I find the support that I need in this moment? And the support is always here. It's just, it doesn't always take the form that we expect, because we're looking for the savior. We're busy in that tunnel vision. So come out of the tunnel and into the light. So thank you all so much for being with me today, and I hope you can join us at 2 p.m. for our volunteer meeting. So thank you so much.
Thank you.